Hello, everyone. I'm Celia Fenn, and I'm coming to you from Cape Town. And I'm here today with Shannon Duncan, who is in New Zealand. And we've come together for another conversation about topics of interest to our community. So let me first welcome Shannon. Welcome to our discussion.
Thank you, Celia. Hello to everybody out there. Nice to be with you again.
So today I thought we could take on a topic that is of interest to lots of people, which is the nature of AI or artificial intelligence in our work and in our reading and our interaction with the internet. So this is quite a controversial topic and quite a difficult one because there's lots to be said for AI and certainly lots to be said against it. So what I thought as I was working with it is that for things like medicine and science, it really is quite a efficient tool to assist humanity in the path forward. But when it comes to things like creativity and writing and art, maybe not so much, because it tends to be a bit of an ethical minefield about how AI works and what it does. Because most people think of AI as your friendly bot. You know, you just go to Chat GPS or whatever and ask a question, and out comes the answer. But the bot, it's not coming from the bot itself. What the bot does is it trawls around the internet looking for connections and information. And then it basically steals the information and gives it to you in the form of an answer. So what you're getting in the answer or the image is not original thinking or work by the AI. It's simply purloined ideas and images that the AI has just given to you, passing it off as its own. So what this means is that for people who are creative, who are writers and artists, is that their work can just be taken and passed on to someone else as a original or an answer, when in fact it's not. It's something that's stolen. So there's quite a big ethical issue there. And then also it's not always right. The answers are not always right. And then they're also open to manipulation by people or groups on the internet who want to further a narrative and therefore can give you answers that will further that narrative. So all sorts of things that we need to be aware of if we are working on the internet or social media or with AI itself. So Shannon, would you like to add something?
I suppose we've grown up with that little C with a circle around it that was called copyright.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of us have felt quite safe with that symbol because it meant nobody could steal any of our work and use it. And I've got to say, I was quite surprised last year in September when all of a sudden I read that there was one country in the world that had signed something a long, long time ago for this very moment. And it was the moment that they finally said to us that they were going to share everything that we had shared on social media with AI. And I was a bit gobsmacked. I sort of have shared freely photos, my children, lots of words and writings and everything. And then all of a sudden, it was going to go to this new robotic system called artificial intelligence. So I was a little bit taken back by it, but I've got to say that on the day that it happened, which I believe was about September the 23rd, I felt a shift in the social media. I felt it instantly on the day, and I even did a post probably about a month later and said, has anybody else felt the shift on social media? But I didn't get a very big response. So I took the post down actually, just because I thought, oh, maybe it's just me. Maybe I've just, felt something. But I did. I did feel something, and I've got to say I've not felt the same since that day last year in September. And so the more I'm learning about what AI is doing, is it's starting to sort of make sense of how I'm feeling at the same time.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because those of us who are sensitive to energies can feel that something is shifting. I've felt also just looking at the nature of something like Facebook, for example, that previously where you would get lots of posts from friends and topics that you were interested in, now they are curating the feed so that you get a lot of political information that you don't particularly want, a lot of advertising that you don't particularly want, and maybe one or two posts from friends or connections. So this intelligence is deciding for you what you're going to see in in
Mm.
your feed, and often it's not what
Mm.
you want to see. And in fact, I found social media becoming more and more manipulative and used in unethical ways. You know, as you said, they now decided that uh, social media is a place to train the bots, and that
Mm.
anything you put on, pictures, writing, whatever, is free for them to do what they like with. And I know that social media did say to us years ago that what we placed on Facebook, for example, belonged to them. But I don't think any of
Mm.
us ever thought that we would become part of this robotic brain that
Mm.
seems to be taking over our work. And you know, my feeling too is it's not just the work; it's almost like AI is making you an extension of that brain and is trying to link into your own neural pathways in your
Mm.
brain so that you become an extension of that rather than the AI is a tool that you are using. You are being used by the AI to generate more information and to keep the circle going. So it's
Mm.
very problematic and very worrying for me anyway, that without our permission or without any legislation around the way it's used, this intelligence is taking over or attempting to take over our creative space.
Mm. Yes.
So,
But
um, yeah, the ethics of it. Also, feeling that what it does for people who become very attached to it is it cuts you off from the natural world, from society, and from developing social skills and creative skills. Because really, you don't need to know how to write. You just ask a question and you give it over to AI, and out pops a post or an article or whatever, or a picture or whatever you need. And I'm not saying this as though I've never done it myself. I have used AI images, although my writing is just my own. But the images I started using because it was so easy. So I think a lot of people are giving over their creative ability to something that seems easy, but in the long run may not be good for us in terms of our creativity and our development. What do you think,
mm.
Shannon?
Yes, there's a new documentary. It came out last year called AI and the Future of Us. And that it is very, very interesting if you get a chance to have a look at that. It's a whole hour-long interview with Oprah Winfrey. She has interviewed all the top people that are got their fingers on the pulse in this game. And it's interesting because even the creators themselves have said that this could be a good or bad situation, and that this is moving very quickly. In life, in the past, we've had things, um, come to us like a car or something when cars were created. And then we had to go through a process of putting rules and regulations in with owning a car and having a car and how that car was built and all that. And that took time. But with artificial intelligence, it's moving very quickly. And there's no rules and regulations around this. And so even the creators themselves are a little bit nervous about this and are admitting that, that this could be quite a terrible thing if we're not careful and we don't keep our finger on the pulse of this and be awake and very conscious about what's happening. And I do believe that this is happening very quickly behind closed doors.
Right.
they have said that they are having discussions with the government every couple of days. So the creators of this and the government every couple of days are coming together, so that's a lot of stuff going on behind people's backs.
And globally, because it's not just in the West, it's also in Asia and in the East. Because, I was also doing some reading about how AI is made, and they use things called semiconductor chips, which are almost exclusively made in the East. And now all of a sudden, there's this huge scramble in America to start factories to make the semiconductor chips. And interesting for me is that the chips are made from tin, which is a metal, and ultraviolet light, which are somehow brought together to create a plasma. So we're talking about plasma technology, which is a complete unknown. What are we doing with plasma? It's very powerful. It's very part of our consciousness includes the plasma element. Although I don't believe that AI is a consciousness. Archangel Michael calls it a database that you can communicate with. And the important thing that it has no soul, it has no higher intelligence on that level to connect with the creator
Mm.
or the angelic or the galactic elements. It simply is a tool, but it's using plasma elements to create its outreach. And that's why I also feel a bit nervous because we are plasma. Plasma is what creates us. And so we're interacting with something that is also working on the same basic building blocks that we have within our being. So, as you say, there's a lot that is not known. People don't know this. They know about ChatGPS, and isn't it wonderful? But they don't know about the technology that's powering it and what it can be used or misused for.
Yes. And the electromagnetic field also that is being created outside of us. This is an artificial electromagnetic field. It's not a natural one that we're going through with some of so-called planets with Uranus, at the moment. That's creating some of that also. But this is an artificial field, energy field. And we all know, well, not all of us, but some of us know the dangers of the radio waves. We've been taught it for a long time, microwaves, cell phones, um, you know, uh, phones that handheld telephones and all of that. So this is becoming more and more bigger in our world.
Yeah.
And so there is a concern there that we need to be very, very careful, I believe.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
that's why I mentioned the way the chips are made, because there is such a close connection between our consciousness and that consciousness. It could end up being like there's no separation, that we just become an extension of this database. So instead of it being a database that we created, the database is using us for its own purposes, which would be
Mm,
to create more information, but not in our terms, in the terms that it needs. Um, because in human evolution, we spiral up um, through as we grow and evolve. But for an AI, it just wants to go round and round, have a
mm.
lot of energy. So we're going to be prevented from moving up because the AI wants to keep us in the same circle going round and round. So
Wow.
there's lots of things we need to think about um, in terms of how
Mm,
we engage with it, how we use it, and what it could mean for us going forward. Because
yes.
I said to a friend of mine, what happens if one day there is no AI, all the electricity goes down, and suddenly there's no AI? And how do you write a letter or write a post or whatever, because you don't know how to do it anymore. And
Yes.
I know
It's
this
a bit scary.
when I started doing my website, I learned how to do it myself. And then it all changed. So now I have someone else to do it for me because it's so complicated. So if you have
Yeah,
something
sure.
that's simple and works, then somehow it needs to be made very complex and very difficult, and then you can't do it anymore. And the same thing might happen to writing and art and human interaction and our connection with nature. It'd be so difficult, no one knows how to do it anymore. So I think what I feel is now for us is to really focus on the organic life, on the organic world, on our creativity, on our social skills, on our spiritual life. Because as I believe, I don't think AI has a soul or a connection to the
Mm.
source. It's simply a database and a robotic intelligence. And so we don't want to get pulled into that. We want to focus on our spiritual being, our spiritual presence, and our connection to the higher realms.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. And one of the things that got me in that documentary that I watched was how Bill Gates has been interviewed actually, and he talks about how they want to make life easier for humans. That's their goal. And so they want to replace humans with these robots so that humans don't have to work so much.
And how
And
did
to
they
me, it's a huge red flag to me because, first of all, work gives you pride. We all have gifts in this world to share. It gives us purpose, makes you feel good, and that now they're trying to take that away, and then take that away for what? What's going to be the catchphrase there? What's
my
the
thought
control over
is,
that?
how do you survive if you don't work? Because most of us
Mm,
earn money through our work and
yes.
enjoy our work, and it's part of who we are. So now they take that away, and what do we do? Sit and look at each other. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but as I said, with medicine and science, it is good because it can hold um, complex mathematical equations and precisions and things that humans are maybe not that good at. But we're still pretty good at creative thinking and problem solving and doing those things without needing to rely on a robotic intelligence. And I
Yeah.
don't believe robotic intelligence is superior to human intelligence. I know they keep saying, oh, AI is going to overtake us soon. I don't think so, because AI is using our information.
I agree.
Us. So it's never going to overtake us because unless we become so stupid and lazy, we don't know how to think anymore. But otherwise, we are far superior as an organic system
Mm,
operating in this Earth space. We are
yes.
by far the superior intelligence.
Yes, I agree. And to be human is to feel and to smell and to taste and to touch and to see. And then we have the sixth sense as well. We have a soul and a spirit and compassion and understanding. I've always felt that my brain is quicker than technology. I still believe that to this day. And I get very frustrated with technology because it's definitely not fast enough. So I kind of believe it can never overrun us. I think with this AI, there is trillions of dollars to be made here.
Yeah,
Trillions of dollars. And we've got to be careful of this because it has this new age of phones. We see it ourselves. We grew up with a telephone that you rang in the house, and if you're home, you answered it. If you weren't, or you were lucky enough to have a message, you could leave a message. It was wonderful. But I didn't even have the money half the time to have one of them on my telephone. Now, where you go, there's phones everywhere. You don't want to leave without your phone, kind of thing. So you can see how fast we've come, way back in the day from the Terminator movies to now. Everything seems to be unfolding. It's a little bit scary. But they inform me that the first robot was created in 1966, I believe. But this artificial intelligence, I think, first was shown in 2017,
mhm.
and then it's come out in the 2020s. But this is how fast it's going. And one of the ladies also in the documentary, she says, she spoke about us not being in love enough with our own existence.
Yeah.
It really got me there. Why are we not in love with our own superior self of just being human? It's God's gift to be human.
And all those wonderful things that AI doesn't.
Hmm. Yes.
Absolutely. We have to, those of us who are walking a spiritual path will know the importance of self-love and self-nurturing and being creative because it's all part of our soul embodiment. Now, AI is not soul embodied, it's mechanical, robotic, it's a database. And it doesn't come anywhere near to the miraculous nature of human. And, just to end off with, I feel that in my work, I'm working closely with transformation into the human angel, which I call Homo angelicus. And I think what AI offers is transformation into Homo roboticus. We just become robots. We become an extension of a robot. And we have to be very careful of that and really align more fully with our organic and beautiful and wonderful self. So thank you, Shannon, for
Yeah.
contributing. Do you have any last comment you want to add?
I think it's just about being aware and being conscious of what's going on. Don't turn a blind eye to it. If something's not feeling right, especially for the children, there's going to be children come into this world with higher consciousness. I mean, is there an underlying factor going in there? Because that we know that this is going to happen. There's going to be these incredible children coming onto the planet in a new place. But we've got to be careful to make sure that they know the difference between artificial intelligence and being a human being, I
Yeah,
think.
and that
And I
they,
think if we can talk about it. Oh, sorry, Celia, what was that?
I also say that kids learn to connect with
So-
nature as well, not to become disconnected from it.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember when computers came into the school and they we had a meeting and they said from now on every child in school is going to have a computer. And it was terrifying for all of us parents. And we fought against it, but we lost the battle. And now, this is a big part of our schools. But we've got to make sure there's a balance and that this doesn't take over,
Yeah,
and keep talking about it and don't be afraid to talk about it. I think also, but have the make the time and space to talk with your neighbor or talk with your family or your friends and keep people aware so that we don't go down a rabbit hole, I
yeah.
think.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon, for your
Mm.
information and for
You're
speaking.
welcome.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to us. We enjoyed talking with you, and we hope to be with you again soon with maybe more information and more conversations for our time. Bye bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye.